Welcome to the 2013 University High School Senior Debate. For the 36-year history of UHS, this event has become something of a rite of passage for UHS graduates. As you already see, the seniors have done a tremendous amount of work preparing for this project, which culminates with this annual debate. UHS juniors, let me remind you, you are the electorate. Please pay close attention today. Tomorrow you will be asked to cast your vote for the party that you think won the debate. Tomorrow voting will take place in room LL3 from 7:30 to 8, during second lunch and after school from 2:45 to 3:30. The votes will be counted at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. So UHS juniors, please come in and vote. Before I introduce our special guest moderator, let me summarize the format of the debate. The debate will have 2 rounds, foreign and domestic. During each round, some questions will be asked by the moderator, others will be inter-party questions. We'll have a brief break between the 2 rounds. This year, the debate will take place during periods 1, 2, and 3. If the debate runs a bit long, it may take a part of period 4. At the end of the debate, please remain seated for some concluding remarks. Then you will most likely be dismissed to your period 4 class if everything runs on time. Please remember, the seniors are trying to earn a grade here. This is part of a class project, so appropriate decorum and respect would be appreciated. Before we begin, I'd like to give special thanks to the students who serve on the stage crew. They oftentimes are the forgotten people that make this entire event possible. So stage crew personnel, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to thank Mary Canty of TUSD Communications. She is taping this event to show on Cox Cable 20. The schedule for when the debate will be on TV will be announced soon, so behave yourselves. Your behavior is being saved for posterity. I'd also like to recognize TUSD Superintendent John Petticone. Dr. Petticone, if you will. Thank you for coming. With that, I'd now like to introduce our special guest moderator. Each year, we invite a prominent figure from the Tucson community to act as our moderator. This year is no exception. Our moderator this year is a newly elected board member on the TUSD Governing Board. Kristel Ann Foster is one of 2 newly elected TUSD Governing Board members. Kristel has taught for over 20 years at the elementary, secondary, and university level, most recently working with undergraduate education majors at the University of Arizona. She has 2 master's degrees, one in education leadership and another in an interdisciplinary degree in Latin American studies, where she focused on the history and anthropology of Central America. She is currently a program specialist in the Sunnyside Unified School District, working with the schools to meet the specific needs of their English language learners. In her free time, Kristel volunteers on social and political campaigns, and now on the governing board. She recognizes the power and the importance of our elected officials and knows we can work to make change in our world by electing the right people to represent our values and priorities. This is how she got involved as a candidate in the race for the TUSD Governing Board and is now honored to serve students, teachers, and parents in this capacity. So without further ado, please welcome Kristel Ann Foster.
Good morning. Thank you for all coming, and thank you for this presentation. And I just want to say, I'd like to thank their kindergarten teachers, because, I mean, you're seniors in high school, and from kinder to 12th grade, I mean, I just want to thank your teachers, and of course your parents and all of you. And thank you for welcoming me here and for letting me participate in this tradition. I'm very excited. So with that, could I have let's begin. Let's begin. Yeah. And we will start with the chair of puzzles. If you could come forward, please, for your opening statement.
we like to think outside the box, the puzzle box, that is. We like to take the pieces out of the puzzle box and put them together. These puzzle pieces are used to build a better future. This is no ordinary puzzle, nor is a puzzle box that holds the puzzle pieces. In addition, the puzzle pieces also aren't either. Neither are those who take the puzzle pieces out of the puzzle box and put the puzzle pieces together. Keep in mind that these are the same aforementioned puzzle pieces that were previously taken out of said puzzle box. This box is innovative, polyphyloprogenitive, and even good, some have said. These are the puzzle pieces that make up the puzzle. All in all, a worthy container, a vessel that is capable of bearing bright and talented young minds on a quest of a prosperous tomorrow. Puzzles is a puzzle box. You are the puzzle pieces. Let us come together and solve a puzzle.
And the party chair of Seuss.
Sometimes the questions are complicated. How does America fix its healthcare policy? What is the solution to the military occupation of the Middle East? Where do we look for a solution to the enormous budget deficit? These questions of policy in this country have many possible answers, put forth by many different people, put forth from many different organizations and schools of thought. Seuss is a figure in literature who excels at delivering a message, at communicating with an audience. We at Seuss follow the same ideals. Open communication is the key to ending unnecessary hostilities and lengthy controversies that delay solutions to problems this nation currently faces. Through comprehensive delivery of our messages, we hope to promote an era of compromise in which solutions can be implemented, not simply discussed. Our platform is one of progressivism, of answering current problems with new and innovative solutions. Every policy we put forth is our solution for a better and brighter future. Seuss policies are the archetype for a country in which the government is the voice of the people, and the people are the voice of their own ideas. It is our job now to enjoy that with which we are pleased and to change that with which we are not. The answers are simple. The answer is Seuss.
And the chair of Mr. E.
The United States of America was created by the people, for the people, of the people. Now, nearly 250 years later, we stand at a crossroads. Do we surrender to the ways of the past and allow decaying allegiances guide us, or do we let the people of this great nation lead the way in innovation, technology, and philosophy? Let us stand up and make our nation great again as we solve our deficit, instill a new world order on the global stage, and work harder than ever to make America greater than it has ever been before. Look around you. We are the future, and it begins today. Only we can change the direction that our country is taking by sending a message to the world saying exactly what we want, and that we are committed to making it happen. Send a message saying, vote Mystery Inc.
And the chair of Prime.
In a world filled with cultural conflict, economic hardship, and political disagreement, America needs an effective leader to progress further into the 21st century. Prime rises above the legislative gridlock, crafting a platform to fit the needs of all Americans. Every single one of the 315 million people in this nation deserves stability, safety, and happiness. Prime commits resources to ensure generations of educated, healthy, and financially stable Americans. Our transformative policy promises to provide young people with options and opportunities to build their own future. Prime affirms its place on the forefront of modern foreign policy by providing accountability and fostering diplomacy and cooperation. By optimizing policy and transforming politics, Prime is the future of America.
All right, so now we begin the foreign policy portion of the program, and we'll begin with the opening statements. Foreign policy. policy opening statements, and we'll begin with Prime.
In 1961, President John F. Kennedy stated in his inaugural address, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty." The world stage has changed since the resolution of the Cold War, yet United States foreign policy remains entrenched in the ideal of global dominism. Prime is changing this. The United States' role in the international community must shift from that of a domineering power to a cooperative and collaborative leader in environmental policy, in the promotion of free trade, in international institutions, and in multilateral diplomacy. It's time that the United States was brought into the 21st century of global affairs. It's prime time.
With the reputation as the world's best party, Puzzles works to satisfy every aspect of such a title. Let's take it piece by piece. The world's. Puzzles is a party of Americans. However, we understand that we belong to the world. Puzzles knows our bounds in attempting to conduct the foreign affairs of nations outside of our control. So we examine policies readily within our reach to make sure that they benefit us as well as the billions that we live with. Best. Puzzles stands firm to the tenets of efficiency and responsibility in order to bring America to its full potential. We enact long-term solutions that will foster lasting relations with the world's growing populace. Party. Puzzles is a celebration of a bright future, one in which every piece of the puzzle fits together.
And Seuss.
Okay. Our standing in the world is a reflection of the pride we have in ourselves. Seuss has pride in America, as should you. And this means we do not compromise our nation's safety, and we do not falter our image. Seuss changes the way we are perceived. The United States is plagued with the image of being the world's police officers, and not only can our economy no longer handle it, but the world does not want it. We change this image by changing how we allocate funds, by changing how we treat right and wrong in a global sphere, and most importantly, by showing pride in the fact that we are a remarkable nation that deserves the best. We do not shy away from power, because nations like the United States, blessed with the ability to help, have the responsibility to do so. Seuss understands how to help, and Seuss is here to help America.
And Mystery Inc.
It's time to get serious about foreign policy. The world around us is changing faster every day, and with new forms of communication and transportation, it's time for America to adapt in this new era of globalization. Our old policies of bullying and pressuring other nations are not working. And here at Mystery Inc., we're reducing worldwide military presence that is not needed. It's time to empower the United Nations with global support. We want to give weight to the words and intentions of this great coalition of nations. At Mystery Inc., we're leading America to a more cooperative and respectful global outlook. We are here to set the standard of foreign policy for other rising nations, one of cooperation and not domination. Thank you.
I can tell which class I should have taken before I decided to run for office. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. And so we begin the random topic for foreign policy. And I thought I would choose one to begin with, where a question that we're all discussing right now in current events, one that our president talked about yesterday, and we heard even some of our own representatives and senators debate. So with that, I will begin the first question, and this goes to Seuss. So this question is for Seuss. Many political figures, both Democrat and Republican, have agreed that the federal government has been ineffective in stopping illegal immigration. In the void of appropriate federal policy, Arizona passed Senate Bill 1070 in law. What is your stance on the Bill 1070? And can a state assume authority over immigration in the absence of federal policy?
Seuss does not merely take a stance on SB 1070, and we are incredibly proud of that. We are repealing the act and replacing it with a new and improved policy, much adopted like the bipartisan committee for the first time in 8 years, might I add, in the Senate yesterday. Our proposal is a work-share program, and this is working to make citizens, as President Obama addressed yesterday, an earned citizenship. This will help us bring America into a new decade as we increase our production possibilities and welcome new citizens into our economy. We stand for repealing the acts that are not right for America. We also stand for making a better America. And with that, we have the Right Tract Act. And that is our stance on SB 1070.
Thank you. So the next question is for Mr. Inc. Among the numerous plans for peace and stability in the Middle East is the two-state solution, the creation of a separate Palestine state from territory ceded by Israel. Does your party support the two-state solution? And if so, how will that support fit the traditional American support for Israel in that region? And if not, what other plan does your party offer for peace in the region?
Here at Mystery Inc., we do support the two-state solution, but we are not going to militarily involve the United States in this conflict. It's time for the world to deal with the world's problems, and we want Israel and Palestine both to come to peace and conclusions in their two-state process. Now, in regards to our undying support for Israel, Israel is still our ally, and they will continue to be our ally. But it's time to take a step back from the way that we approach this nation. Israel, we started funding Israel when they were a developing nation over 30 years ago, and we believe that they have developed. What we're going to do here at Mystery Inc. is we're going to cut our funding to Israel by half over a 5-year period. Now, what we want to do is we want to respect the sovereignty of the Israeli nation, but we also want to respect the sovereignty of other nations around the Israeli nation. We want the world to understand that the United States wants the world to deal with its own issues.
The next question is for Prime. Over the past decade, the United States has fought wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which has led to destruction of institutions in both countries. What will your party do to assure stability in these countries as the U.S. gradually removes its troops?
Prime is accelerating the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. However, we're not just stopping at that. We're focusing on the reconstruction of both the Iraq and Afghanistan economy. We have a 4-point plan for reconstruction in Afghanistan. This plan includes preferential trading status for Afghanistan with the United States, the EU, and other leading economies. This plan includes special reconstruction zones for national and international companies so they can tap into Afghanistan's undiscovered resources. This plan includes technical assistance, loans, and subsidies to non-poppy farmers, as well as the promotion of an opium licensing system that will give accredited Afghani poppy growers the means to earn an honest living. We believe that not only will we promote furthering the agricultural economy in Afghanistan, but we're also promoting and supporting the leading economic activity in Afghanistan, which is opium. We will include Afghanistan with Turkey, with India, our traditional trading partners in the narcotic raw materials imports. In addition to these economic measures, we're also going to encourage President Karzai and his government to continue their democratic reforms so that power can be shared between local and centralized authorities in Afghanistan. Thank you.
And puzzles. Your question is, recently disputes between Iran and the US have pushed relations to a new, more precarious level. Some hawks say that the US should conduct a preemptive strike to prevent Iran from developing nuclear capability. What is your plan to resolve this dangerous situation with Iran?
All right, puzzles will take a peaceful stance with Iran, of course. We will not launch any preemptive strike against Iran because we've seen from the Iraq War that it's cost us over $700 billion and more than 4,000 lives lost for similar reasons, weapons of mass destruction. Also, geopolitically, we will not further any attacks with Iran because if we bomb them or attack them in any way, then the price of oil will go up. And also, it will just stop any economic development that we've managed so far. This is not the only reason we want to come to a peaceful solution with Iran by becoming more in tune with the Islamic world, with the countries around them. We can undermine the Iranian regime by becoming more diplomatic with those around them, including any of the other Islamic world that we don't readily consider allies. This includes Indonesia, which is the country with the highest Muslim population. We need to further our negotiations and trade with these countries, and so that we can have a better stance and reputation around the world in the Muslim world.
Thank you. All right, now we move on to the inter-party questions. So we will begin with Mystery Inc.
Our question is for Seuss, and we would like to ask you guys how you plan on addressing the human rights violations of Chinese manufacturers, as well as how are you combating artificially low prices developed by the Chinese?
We are no longer in a situation where we are holding all the cards. That is the America of a couple years ago, and that is the Seuss that we are going to bring back. That we have a hand that we can play. Right now, that is not the situation. We understand that it is not our job to stand to China and say what they can or cannot do. As far as human rights violations going on in China, this gives us an excellent opportunity to address Project HELP, humanitarian, education, and life policy. This is the idea that rather than spending $34 billion a year in humanitarian aid that's going to countries like China, like the Democratic Republic of Congo, a government run by a rebel organization, the M23, and that's not being put to humanitarian aid. Project HELP is the idea that we are going to give American businessmen and American entrepreneurs money to start humanitarian aid programs, hospitals, education, and school facilities throughout the world. By doing that, they are going to spread the humanitarian aid, and we can reassure how our money is being allocated. Everything done through the Bureau of Help, everything processed from Project Help goes through the Bureau of Help, and that is how we as a country regulate and make sure that what they are doing is correct and that our funding is being properly allocated. This is how we address the human rights violations. As far as China economically, they have the world and they are holding the world economically. Our budget has done a remarkable job at getting us back in that. Our next step is going to be to ratify the Kyoto Treaty in 2016, and that will take steps for Americans to improving our world image and improving how we address relations in China.
All right, next we'll have Prime. Oh, yes, a rebuttal. I apologize. And then
All right, thank you. Now, I'm sorry that it seems that Seuss seems to fail to answer that question, because all they're going to do is reward China for continued practices of unfair low-wage prices, as well as continuing to peg their currency to the US dollar. We won't stand for that. We won't pay them to continue to have these programs. Instead, we won't enact military action. We won't combat them. That's an unreasonable solution. Instead, what we will do, we will work for political pressure to have China change their policies. We don't want to be the dominant party in the world, but the most important thing is making sure that our economy is secure. In order to do this, we need to have China have fair wages and fair prices. Allowing them to continue their current policy is wholly inept and a terrible policy. What we have to do, we will work with the UN as well as with other nations to have China change their policy themselves, not force them to do anything. Instead, it will be a global effort for China to change, not for the US to dominate, and not to pay them to continue their terrible and unfair policies.
and Mr. Ink's rebuttal.
Seuss.
I mean Seuss's rebuttal.
We are not continuing to pay them. That is the entire concept behind Project Help, is that we are cutting the funding that is supposed to be going to humanitarian aid that we can't be providing, or that we can't be assuring is going properly to humanitarian aid. That is the entire idea behind Project Help, that we are enforcing that we are making sure that the people in China have what they need through America's backing and support. That's to begin with. Second of all, as far as Chinese power and domination, why don't we want to be the greatest nation in the world? And a policy that supports that with a UN army, a standing that does not support that America's remarkable entity is not a policy that America needs.
Thank you. All right, I'll get this one right this time for sure. Prime, your turn for your question.
This question is directed towards Party Seuss. You just stated that you do not plan to ratify the Kyoto Treaty until 2016. You state in your international environmental policy that the American economy needs to recover and get back on track before we can ratify an international emissions reduction treaty such as the Kyoto Protocol. However, climate change is the environmental issue of our time. And the longer we ignore it, the more we will pay in the future. How can you continue to put the environment on the back burner when the United States should be taking the leadership role in international environmental policy?
The weakest point of our foreign policy is our economy at this point in time. Seuss, the world cannot afford the United States cannot afford to be putting money to programs that aren't first on the priority list. We recognize the importance of the economy, of the environment. It is an incredibly important issue. But first we get Americans back on track, getting them jobs, getting our standing as the world's police officer to change as the world's best friend. as we are going from, in 2016, in ratifying the Kyoto Treaty, in 1997 it was passed with the idea that countries would be implementing this, okay? That hasn't happened. In 2016, when Seuss understands that the economy is number one and understands that our economy is back on track, we will be working towards this. China currently has 15 clean development programs that are all operated through their businesses, and they're giving private funding to these businesses to do this, with Finland, with Sweden, and that is improving their global image. We need to improve our global image, and with that, we will be ratifying the Kyoto Treaty and giving tax breaks to businesses who want to do that. We need to be at 15, we need to be at 16 clean development projects, and we will start in 2016 when our economy is on track.
Firstly, we have over 60 years until our economy can get back on track. Secondly, Prime believes that the United States must take an active and dynamic leadership role in environmental policy. We do acknowledge that the previous Kyoto Treaty has had imperfections. However, the Kyoto Treaty represents that important first step in international climate change policy. What Party Seuss doesn't seem to understand is the fact that the longer we wait, the longer we put off climate change, the potential economic costs of global warming will far outweigh any immediate economic losses we would incur as a result of implementing a treaty such as the Kyoto Treaty that cuts down on emissions. It is also very interesting that Prime cites China, out of all countries in their international environmental policy, as the model for the United States to follow after, when in actuality, China's emissions have increased almost 300% since 1990. In fact, they say that China has done a good job in leaving regulations to private business. However, we all know that private business will inevitably put the bottom line ahead of the environment. Prime is no longer putting off climate change. We are acting now, and we are implementing the second Kyoto Protocol.
Thank you. Next question.
There's a very clear difference between putting off and understanding how we have to prioritize the economy and our standing in the world. I did not say, nobody said that China is a remarkable power in the way they're affecting the environment. What they are is a remarkable power in the way they are improving their image, which is what Seuss sees and wants to change. Their image is improved working with 15 different countries. 15 countries on clean development projects. We need to be doing that. And when we incentivize businesses, it creates competition. When we incentivize businesses to want to make a better America, when we incentivize people to want a better America, we have a better America. We will be ratifying the Kyoto Treaty in 2016 when our economy is back on track. It doesn't take 60 years. We're working our way back with a $70 billion surplus this year. By 2016, we'll be ready to improve our global image as a power.
All right, let's have puzzles.
To Prime. Prime proposes to get rid of the income tax and substitute it with a 35% sales tax. All right, and with the sales tax, exports are exempt from the sales tax, which means that our goods that we export will flood the world market. They're cheap American goods. How will Prime deal with the trade war that will ensue when we flood the market with our with our cheap goods, and other countries in response put up trade barriers to America, tariffs, and complaints through the World Trade Organization?
All right, Prime.
Concurrently, yes. Prime is eliminating the federal income tax. which will not affect our overall trade and our overall production of goods as much as the fact that we are eliminating the corporate income tax to bring business back to America. What we are trying to do is balance our trade. Concurrently, we are an importing country. We want to put our trade back to the balance. The World Trade Organization knows that right now we import more than we export. If we all of a sudden start producing cheap goods, then we'll just be furthering our stage up in the market. We're trying to invest here in America. Those tariffs and trade barriers, well, unfortunately, not that many tariffs and trade barriers will be set up because we have a 26% inclusive sales tax. Also, on our exports, those goods could possibly have some tax revenue put on it to set a fairness level of the market. Here at Prime, we stand for market values. We stand for the economy of the world stage to shift things out. We know that if they set trade barriers on us, that we will then increase our taxes on it so that we can gain revenue from those goods that we're exporting and that the trade barriers overall will lower. We are not for any tariffs here at Prime, we are for free trade. And we're using that policy to both build America into the future and build the trade of the world in the future.
First of all, Prime claims that the tax is not 35%, it is 26%. This is just false. When you say that it's a 26% tax, it is because you're calculating the tax inclusively, which is not how sales tax is calculated. The way the sales tax is calculated, the tax they're putting on every good in America is 35%, which is extraordinarily high. So this will, in effect, cause all other countries to put trade barriers up simply to be able to keep up with our goods. The goods that we are producing, the tax will limit imports so much that other countries won't be able to import goods to us, and we will, the amount of goods that we will be able to export at low prices will be completely overwhelming. This will decrease world fair trade significantly. On the corporate tax, Prime suggests completely eliminating corporate tax. This is also a bad decision. This will completely put the U.S. on a tier above the rest of the world against the World Trade Organization's ideal situation. Here at Puzzles, we will lower the 35% corporate tax currently to 28%, putting us on even ground with the rest of the developed world. In addition, we will reduce subsidies, farm subsidies, to encourage the rest of the world, especially South America and Asia, to increase trade with us. We would like fair trade. We will also try to set up fair trade agreements with every country on Earth, as they've been shown to increase productivity thoroughly.
Thank you.
It's rather unfortunate that Puzzles doesn't understand the basics of taxation, and that you do calculate 26% inclusive when you're dealing with trade goods that are exported or when you're dealing with the aggregate impact of tax upon the market. Unfortunately, Puzzles is keeping their income tax and their payroll tax levels high. That hurts middle class and lower class much more than our 26% inclusive tax rate would, because their aggregate tax is far above it. Second off, what we are planning on doing here with our trade policies is to actually be able to flood the market with American goods. For some odd reason, they believe that China will all of a sudden stop importing goods to America just because we are able to make some goods cheaper than they might be able to. With our 0% corporate income tax, we merely become more accessible for trade to other nations because we can actually make goods cheaply like we were able to before. We are not eliminating free trade, we are spearing U.S. free trade into the future along with the nations that have already produced large amounts of free trade on the current world stage. We are increasing it, not lowering it.
Thank you. And Seuss.
Our question is for Puzzles. We need to address how you plan to fund your foreign investment, your foreign adventures, and how you prioritize America in the world sphere. You say you're continuing funding to PREFAR, the African AIDS program, but that does not state whether the continued funding is the $7.5 billion that's going to be required this year, or the $3.5. Also, you intend on increasing voluntary contributions. With a 46, 47, 48, and 49% tax on wealthy Americans, how do you expect increased contributions from volunteers? Finally, you're increasing the funding to the UN, an organization we already pay 75% to, and you say that it will lead to a 25% increase in European trade. How do you get a 25% increase, and how much are you increasing funding?
Puzzles.
All right, I'll begin with the United Nations. Right now, we give $6 billion in our contributions to the United Nations simply to be a part of the United Nations. Right now, we give $6 million per year in voluntary contributions. This comes from the government, not from rich elites that we are imposing a slight increase on their taxes. We will double our voluntary contributions through the United States, not the individuals in the United States, to 12 million. This will help us set up through the United Nations distribution centers. And this will make sure that the money that we do put in will be successfully implemented to help developing nations with their health, their sanitation, their education. These are all very worthy goals that we see putting another $6 million into. All right, and the other one was, let's see, how do we view ourselves with the other nations of the world? We want to lead by example. This means with our contributions to the United Nations, we want other nations to see our policies working with the United Nations and do the same. We want to be a leader instead of forcing other people to comply by our rules, which we do not abide by ourselves. This is the best solution for foreign investment, is by doing the right thing, giving to the United Nations more, and making sure that our contributions go to the United Nations and developing nations so that we can see success in these places, and so that they don't turn to corrupt governments, and they don't turn to conflict with each other and with different religions, because we want to prevent these so that we don't have to fund any more wars in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seuss still doesn't understand how we ended up with a 25% increase in trade. But furthermore, as far as leading by example, Seuss's actions in decreasing their nuclear program to 1,000 nukes to understand that we can't live in a world where nuclear options, where the option of bombing one country and ending the world is okay. That is leading by example. And as far as a small tax, 46, 47, 48, and 49% on the wealthiest Americans is not a small tax. That is half the income. And that's not a progressive tax system either. There's not a whole lot of progression between 46, 47, 48, and 49%. Seuss understands how we need to address the UN, and that is not by taking a larger role and increasing funding. That is where Project Help comes in. We address the UN by pulling our aid out because we see that it's largely inefficient.
Thank you.
All right, well now I will address the 25% increase in trade with the European Union. With our plan to increase our funding to the United Nations, we want to create a better world stance for America. This means creating better relations with the European countries which largely fund the United Nations. And we foresee United Nations internal reforms, and so by taking a more active role right now, we can make sure that the United Nations moves to become an institution that is more effective than it already is. With these increased relations with the European nations, we hope to make free trade agreements with the European Union. This will create the 25% increase in trade with the European Union that Puzzles sees as a great solution for promoting our economy and promoting free trade around the world.
Thank you. We will move on to the random topic questions. We will start with Prime and have a rebuttal by Mr. Inc. And the question is that currently, many economists cite the unfavorable balance of trade the U.S. has with China as a major flaw of the modern American economy. In the past, the United States' attempts to bring the economic difficulties with China to the World Trade Organization have been largely futile. How does your party propose to resolve this growing economic and diplomatic crisis?
Prime understands the reality of our economic relationship with China. Although China has had discriminatory trade practices in the past, they have artificially manipulated their currency, and they have not held up to their obligations at the World Trade Organization. We want to encourage our economic relationship with China. However, we cannot force the Chinese government to comply by our economic standards. And as the question stated, efforts to do so in the past have proved largely futile. Therefore, Prime is bringing the focus back home with our Optimize America plan. Optimize America is going to make manufacturing in the United States much more attractive to these companies and corporations that have outsourced to foreign countries, thinking that their profits will be larger there. With Optimize America, by eliminating the corporate income tax, we're going to make manufacturing much more attractive in the United States. In addition to eliminating the corporate income tax, we're also going to focus on STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, by focusing our funding on relevant scholarships and programs that will further these interests. STEM education is going to create the scientists and engineers of tomorrow that can propel America into a more innovative and prosperous future, as well as give the United States back its competitive edge in the global economy and with our economic relationship with China.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that Prime understands the importance of trade with China, but I'm disappointed in their diplomatic solution to this problem. Their current policy is giving up on talking with China. Instead, they're going to bring the focus back home and continue policies that will effectively flood the market with American goods, which is against treaty standards, as well as their current policy that they're going to just give up on China. They're just going to bring the focus back home. It's terribly disappointing to see them, instead of actually working with China, give up and try and reinvest in America in an unfair market. A 0% corporate tax rate does not solve the problems in China. It instead just unfairly incentivizes businesses to come and produce in America. It wholly removes our current standing in foreign diplomatic relations. We cannot continue with this unfair policy, and the most important thing is that we continue working with China to find a solution, not give up on talking with them.
Thank you. The next question is for Puzzles with a rebuttal from Prime. And the question is, currently the U.S. has given humanitarian food aid to North Korea. Some of this has been stored in order to starve the people until the government sees fit to feed them, so that they look up to the government as gods. And it is also sold in black markets in other countries. Do you plan to continue giving North Korea humanitarian food aid? And if so, so that it doesn't occur, so that this doesn't occur?
Puzzles recognizes that most of the aid that we currently give to North Korea does not actually get to the people. The government takes it and distributes it as it will, and it never actually reaches those who need it. To fix this, Puzzles will completely stop humanitarian aid towards North Korea until they participate in six-party talks and come to an agreement with the rest of the world, and especially the countries that surround it. We will continue to support our allies, specifically South Korea, in the area, but we feel that the money that we are currently giving to North Korea is not going where we need it. If North Korea does comply with agreements and come to an agreement, then we will be glad to institute the UN distribution centers that we talked about earlier in North Korea, which we believe would be a very effective way of getting the aid that we want to give them to the people who need it. However, as I stated, at this time, the aid is not going to the people who need it, so Puzzles plans to completely stop the aid until we can reach an agreement.
Thank you. Prime.
What Party Puzzles doesn't seem to understand is that there is currently a humanitarian crisis in North Korea. Approximately 1/3 of North Korea's youngest generation are diagnosed with dwarfism as a result of this extreme malnourishment. We understand that the North Korean government does not give all our aid where we want it to go. However, we cannot use humanitarian aid as leverage for political policies. The United States stands for better values than that. Party Prime is planning to give our humanitarian aid to UN agencies that are already in North Korea, to the World Food Program, so that they can get at least some of this aid to the starving generations in North Korea. Prime is not going to mix up strategic foreign policy with humanitarian objectives.
The next question is for Seuss, followed with the rebuttal from Puzzles. And the question is, new weapons technology is being developed every day, and the United States is currently leading the world in terms of research programs and weapon sales to other nations. Do you think we should continue investing in military research spending and then selling those weapons to foreign governments?
Yeah, so at Seuss, we understand that the defense of America is one of the most important things we can do to keep our country safe. Investing in programs in the military with weapons and other defense systems is paramount in making sure that the lives of American people are protected. This is why we will continue certain programs that we have. But we do have to take a look at programs we're using that maybe aren't so relevant anymore. If you look at something like our nuclear program, we have 5,000 warheads. We're cutting those down to 1,000. That's going to save us a lot of money in a lot of areas such as storage and making sure that these warheads are safe. But we are keeping money and we are continuing funding to programs that will keep defense in the areas that we need it. There are certain defense needs we have and we will continue to fund those because we believe that as Americans we need to keep our people safe here at home.
Thank you. Puzzles.
Seuss says that we need to keep our people safe here at home. Currently, we spend $700 billion or $400 billion a year on, Puzzles proposes to cut the defense budget to $400 billion a year instead of what it is currently at, $700 billion a year. We will still encourage our investment in research technology, but we will do this at home. We will do this with NASA, and Puzzles will double our budget to NASA, while Seuss says that they will do nothing with NASA. They don't really say what funding will go there. So we see it as a better investment to give money to programs that will do positive, instead of funding an arms race in the Middle East with our current foreign military aid to the Middle East. And we will continue and improve our funding to NASA instead of funding technologies for war and destruction.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, this question is for you with the rebuttal from Seuss. The defense budget historically has been cited by critics as a breeding ground for pork barrel spending, fraud, and waste. However, the United States has depended upon a strong military to protect its interest in the world since 1945. Does your party favor a cut in the defense budget? And if so, how will your party guarantee the safety of Americans with these cuts?
So here at Mystery Inc., we understand the importance of having a strong military. We also understand that the military budget has been artificially expanded in recent years. We have a current war going on. We are proposing to reduce military spending back to pre-2001 levels, which were more than enough to ensure the defense and security of our nation. This cut will be about $300 billion in savings per year, which is quite a significant amount, and will work towards reducing our current deficit. Now, we also support continued research and investments So what we're going to do is we're shifting the focus of the military. Instead of working on maintaining current existing projects, we want to encourage them to invest in new research opportunities as well as new developments. We don't want to continue to support missile silos that are outdated by 30 years. Instead, we want to secure the defense of a new nation for a new era.
Thank you. And Seuss.
So, like Mr. Ing said, it is, of course, important to make sure our military is put in the right places, and yet they're advocating for a UN army. The UN army is currently mostly funded by the American troops. Doesn't really seem to make sense. At Seuss, what we want to do is cut the defense budget in the places that it needs to be cut, as I just mentioned, and put it into technologies that are really relevant to today. We do want to develop technologies that are currently going to help us with things, like they said, pre-2001 were not working before. We want to develop technologies that will be helping us, that will be working, and not funding an army that has nothing to do with the United States. We need to be funding the things that will protect American citizens, and cutting the defense budget is not going to hurt Americans. It's going to cut superfluous items that we are spending money on, save money for American people, while still keeping us safe.
Now we'll go to the second round of inter-party questions on foreign policy, and we'll begin with puzzles.
Our question is for Seuss. Merriam-Webster defines an indentured servant as a person who signs and is bound by indentures to work for another for a specified time, especially in return for payment of travel expenses and maintenance. Seuss's Right Track Act gives immigrants two options: leave the country and apply for a visa, or they can stay in America, working for 3 years at a minimum wage manual labor job. How does Seuss justify infringing on the liberties of immigrants by endorsing a system that is remarkably similar to one that caused so much grief earlier in our country's history?
There is a difference between indentured servitude and, as President Obama addressed yesterday, in the first bipartisan bill in 8 years, in earning a citizenship. The Right Track Act would not be advocating for anything that goes against an entity, a heritage. That is the idea in repealing SB 1070. We are the only party that is doing that, may I mention. They are earning the citizenship by working in America, and granting amnesty, not only a disaster to our budget, but the fact that you're saying it's okay for criminals, not for people who broke the law, who came here illegally, to slide by and say that is okay, that is a moral confound that Seuss cannot live with.
Here at Puzzles, we don't really see the difference between this and indentured servitude. Amnesty. We recognize that amnesty is granting citizenship to those who came here by breaking the law. However, there are 11.5 million illegal or undocumented workers here in America today. Any other option besides granting amnesty is simply not reasonable. By granting amnesty to these people, we take them into the American system. They become part of the legal American system, and they pay taxes. This will generate over $30 billion in taxes next year alone. Finally, by granting amnesty, amnesty is often cited as a temporary solution. Puzzles does not see this way, as we are instituting several other reforms. All of our reforms are designed to decrease incentives for immigrants to come here. First of all, we will be putting much harsher penalties on employers who hire illegal immigrants, and secondly, we'll be making the green card process much easier. So rather than just treating symptoms of the immigration problem, Seuss wants to hit the problem at the source and make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
Thank you. Puzzles.
Amnesty does not educate and help expand and better America. It does not. In addition, allowing 11.1 million people amnesty for not only coming here illegally, but to say that that's a temporary solution, do you then call them not illegal? That doesn't work. Or do you call them illegal after a certain amount of time? Does that mean that old immigrants who have been here illegally are okay and new ones coming forth are not? How do you justify that to a population? In addition, the idea behind the Right Track Act is expanding America, is bettering America, and to compare that to indentured servitude is criminal. We are educating, we are giving people options. We have a visa program just as easy as your green card program, and we too are incentivizing businesses to make sure that they're hiring people the right way. That is the Right Track Act.
Thank you. The next question comes from Seuss.
Our question is for Prime. Your nuclear proliferation treaty ideas for the Middle East, how do you justify giving aid and expanding aid and changing the way you give aid to countries that are not operating under democratic ideals? And how do you expect to give 4 of the 20 F-16s that were just passed and a plan for 200 tanks that are given to countries like Egypt that are not operating under a democracy? And how do you expect to fund and to expect and hold countries who do operate under American ideals to a different standard than countries who don't?
First of all, I would like to point out that in Party Seuss's platform, they do not even address the issue of non-proliferation. Also, I'm a little confused about the question. Giving aid to whom? Perfect. So our aid to Egypt. We understand that President Morsi in Egypt is currently instituting some reforms that might not appeal to democratic ideals. We understand that. However, this is why Prime is reallocating our funds to Egypt, which was last year $250 million in economic aid. We are reallocating that to UN agencies and other non-governmental organizations so that they can better address the problems of Egypt and help reconstruct the economy there. This also gives me an excellent opportunity to address Project Help, as Party Seuss creates in their platform. In Project Help, they plan to incentivize American businesses and entrepreneurs to go around the world and help these countries that they don't see fit to run their own country. Project Help misunderstands the reason why American aid is not working right now. These countries, such as Egypt, such as Libya, there's prevalent anti-US sentiment in these countries. They don't want American help. This is why Prime is reallocating our foreign funding to UN agencies, to non-governmental organizations, so that we can still give help to these countries and further our interests in these countries. However, it will not be direct involvement from the United States. So we actually stated in our platform that we're going to severely cut back on our aid to Egypt, on our aid to Libya, and reallocate these funds to UN agencies and non-governmental organizations to alleviate this problem in American foreign aid.
To relegate President Morsi's actions to less than American ideals is a moral confound. Recently, he passed martial law offering Sharia law for the people, and they have spent 9 days in the streets filing and protesting, and the foreign minister recently said that the country is going to collapse on itself. And you begin the statement by saying you're increasing aid, and then you say you're reallocating. Reallocating is the entire idea behind Project Help. And it's not countries that we do not see fit to run their own government. We are allowing them to run their own government. But we cannot be supporting organizations that are not running their government and giving the humanitarian aid that we are giving to these countries that aren't getting to the people. We can't be supporting that. And Project Help is not saying that you are not fit to run your government. It's saying that you are not fit to take our aid and reallocate it to military and to other objectives. That's what Project Help says. It is being reallocated to the people who deserve it.
I just checked in our platform, and word for word, this is what we say about our policy towards Egypt. Prime will drastically reduce economic and military aid to the Egyptian government. So I'm not quite sure what Party Seuss is referring to. Project Help, they state in their explanation of Project Help that we are going to bring people that believe in democracy back to America. How is this furthering America's ideals and promoting democracy around the world if we're bringing all the people that believe in democracy back to America? As I said before, Prime is reallocating our direct economic and military aid to countries such as Egypt, to countries such as Libya, and giving it to UN agencies and non-governmental organizations that know their goals and know they can help reconstruct the economy there. I'm not quite sure what Party Seuss's point was in that question, because we stated in our platform that we are drastically reducing direct economic and military aid to governments such as Egypt and governments such as Libya.
Thank you. I got into that one. I was ready to keep going. Okay. Where Mr. Inc. is next.
We think it's great that Party Puzzles wants to increase funding to the United Nations. But in light of recent failures such as those at Rwanda, how does your party intend to keep the UN from enacting real peace and change around the world?
I find it a little funny that Mystery Inc. points out the lacking nature of the United Nations peacekeeping efforts when they want to institute a United Nations standing army. The United Nations has been successful in the past decades of eradicating smallpox. We will increase our budget to the United Nations to help preventative measures like this. They are doing a fantastic job of combating the disease of AIDS, as well as other debilitating and deadly diseases, as well as people lacking of education, health, and sanitation in developing nations. And so we see these preventative measures for people that would be in conflict, that would start wars, as the greatest measure for peacekeeping. Also with the United Nations, as I stated before, we want to increase our efforts through this diplomatic and global organization. We think that working through this forum instead of directly with the nations, acting solely on America's side, will increase our stance around the world and the respect that we really need to bring back to foreign opinions of America. So to reiterate, we will help with the preventative measures to stop actions that would create conflict in the future. Puzzles will do this by increasing our aid and funding to the United Nations to help them with their quest to get rid of diseases such as AIDS that could kill millions in the future.
Thank you.
All you've told me is what you think should be done. You're not going to tell me how you're going to do it or what it's going to accomplish, but just that you think that it's great that we're getting rid of smallpox. Here at Mystery Inc., we know what we're going to do. We have a plan. We want to implement some real change around the world with this great community of nations. A standing army will allow this conglomeration to prevent genocides in countries while you prevent smallpox and chickenpox. Mystery Inc. knows what to do, and we're ready to protect this nation and the world by using a global community. All you've told me is what you want to do and not how you're going to do it. And Mystery Inc., we're solving the issues. Thanks.
To answer the first question, we will be instituting and implementing our UN distribution centers. This will help the money that we are giving to get to the right places. Also, I'd like to point out in Mystery Inc.'s platform that they will be operating or enacting Operation Scooby Snacks, which which is the definition of having a goal and not knowing how to implement that goal and take the action to succeed.
We're taking our time.
All right, puzzles will take the actions, the well thought out goals that we have to get rid of such deadly diseases. Smallpox is gone, by the way, because of the United Nations, and we will help get rid of AIDS and other diseases around the world instead of not well thought out plans such as Scooby Snacks and a UN army. Thank you.
Brian, your question.
This question is to Puzzles. In your Middle East policy, you lump together 24 sovereign, individual, ethnically diverse nations into one small paragraph entitled Middle East. The United States has incredibly varied, complex relations with many of these nations, relations that cannot be summarized in 4 sentences. Currently, one of the most precarious issues is how to approach the state of Iran's nuclear weapon ambitions. How does Puzzles plan to address the potential nuclear weapon proliferation in the Middle East, specifically concerning Iran?
All right, well, we put together the Middle East because right now we have very different actions towards every Middle Eastern nation. We want to remove our influence from the Middle East is the ultimate goal. We want to have them live as a region where they can decide their own actions and see fit how to take care of their own people. There's a defining feature in the Middle East, but it does not constitute every individual. It's that they practice a religion not quite unlike our own, but one that American individuals commonly don't understand. And so we want to relieve our influence in this area because a lot of times we don't understand the problems, and by putting forth solutions to problems that we don't understand, it's just a recipe for disaster. For Iran, we want to make sure that we don't want to take direct military action. However, we want to make sure that they are thwarted in their goal of attaining nuclear weapons, because this is such a dangerous proposition for the rest of the world. It has been noted that all of uranium, or highly enhanced uranium, is taken and smuggled from Russia to other nations because they do not have very good enforcement on their highly enriched uranium. We want to work with Russia to make sure that this highly enhanced uranium doesn't leave the borders, and that we can prevent any terrorist organizations or the Iranian government from taking this highly enriched uranium and creating a bomb to upset the Middle East and the rest of the world, primarily. We want to make sure that Iran does not get nuclear weapons because it means that other nations around will readily get these technologies as well. So Puzzles will work to remove the anti-American sentiment that Iran feels by removing our direct relations with the Middle East in the...
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
As is true with most of Party Puzzle's platform, they fail to give specific policies that could address these situations. They continue to give us broad generalizations about how we're going to deal with these issues and never give us specific policies. Prime is changing that. With Iran, we understand that nuclear proliferation in the Middle East would be a tipping point for the region. Therefore, we are promoting increased bilateral discussion with Iran in order to deter them from continuing their nuclear weapons development. We're also proposing multilateral diplomacy in that region because we realize that the Arab nations and Israel have to start talking more if we want to see a change in those conflicts. With our multilateral diplomacy, we are proposing a nuclear arms conference between Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey, in which Israel will offer sharp cuts in its nuclear arsenal in exchange for pledges from these other nations not to pursue a nuclear weapons program. It will be made clear to Iran that if they choose to continue pursuing a nuclear weapons program, harsh economic sanctions will be imposed, as they have been in the past, as well as the possibility of joint military action from regional nations. However, we cannot allow the United States to go into its third Middle Eastern war in a decade. Prime is proposing specific diplomatic measures in order to deal with Iran and their proliferation efforts. We understand that, as I said before, nuclear proliferation in the Middle East would be a tipping point for the region. So, in addition to these diplomatic measures, Prime is also proposing that the United States offer sharp cuts in its nuclear arsenal.
All right, currently we have very many policies towards the different nations of the Middle East. We will not stop this. We will just simply cut our funding by 50% over the next 5 years, to all of them. This will not stop our current policies. It'll just stop our foreign military aid primarily. Also, we want to stop our foreign military aid to stop the arms race that we've created in the region. This will take it at its source to stop arming the Middle East. While the diplomatic relations sound good, how can we make them do this? We have no say in their countries running. And although it is nice to think that multilateral relations will solve the problems of the Middle East, it is unlikely that without currently abiding by the laws that we set for the whole world, that other nations will follow those laws. So Puzzles will create America that will follow its own rules that it proposes for the rest of the world. This means by following World Trade Organization practices and also following our nuclear disarmament that we propose for the rest of the world.
All right, we're at the conclusion of the foreign policy portion of our program, and so we will begin with our closing statements. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss changed the way we educate young minds across the world. Party Seuss is changing the way America is seen across the world. Unlike the other three parties, America is a remarkable country, and Party Seuss sees that. We are not diminishing our power in order to make peace, in order to make other countries feel good. We are retaining that power. We are changing the world sees us. Via Project Help, via the Right Track Act, via our relations with the world. We are changing how we are perceived. That is Seuss.
Thank you. Mystery.
As you've seen through today's debates, Mystery Inc. is the party with a plan. Other parties are vague and overbroad, while we have hard-hitting policies like Scooby Snack Attack and a UN Army. Our policies are going to get things done, while other people just want to say what they want done and not provide a real and concrete way to do it. Mystery Inc. is there when we need to be, and we know what to do while other parties talk about it. We're here to make changes. That's what Mystery Inc. is about. We're ready to lead this nation, to be more cooperative, to be more globally active, while still respectful of other nations' sovereignty. When issues threaten this great nation that we all live in, Mystery Inc. will be there. We'll be ready to solve the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our founding fathers have created something that people all over the world fight for, long for, and are willing to die for. American ideals like freedom and democracy, choice and promise, equality and justice have withstood the test of time for over 200 years and allowed us to remain the most powerful and prosperous nation on earth. Now in a time of economic peril and uncertainty, Prime realizes there must be change. No longer can we be seen as a colonizing and militant nation or an overly prideful invader. We must work with our enemies and our allies to create long-lasting peace for the global community. Prime is here to take a stand against a colonizing view of America. We are here to choose progress, innovation, and hope over dogma and scare tactics. We are here to revitalize the American reputation in the global community. And most importantly, we are here to optimize policy and transform politics, because at Prime, we realize we are the future. Thank you.
Puzzles challenges everyone here today to ask the age-old question: do the ends justify the means? Now, I realize we all have the same admirable objectives of world peace, an improved reputation for America, and a better tomorrow for the global citizen. However, take heed of each party's means to attain these goals. Do they take into account America's standing as the world's superpower? Every action we make is felt in waves around the world. We must be ethical. We must judge ourselves before we judge others. We must abide by the rules that we set forth for other governments in order that they actually take these rules seriously. So consider the steps put forth by Puzzles. We lay the groundwork for success. We avoid the shortcuts. We opt for the challenges because we know that the only way to take pride in the completed puzzle is to fit each piece together, one by one.
And just a very quick round of applause for everybody before our break.
Okay, that concludes the foreign policy round. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-minute break so folks don't go anyplace. Stay at your seat, stretch your legs, and we'll come back in about 2 minutes. Thank you. All right, if you can take a seat, please. We're going to start round 2. Okay, please take a seat. All right, please have a seat, folks. All right, we don't have any time to waste. Please have a seat. Okay, we need to come to order. Please have a seat. May I have your attention, please? Thank you. All right, we're going to begin round 2, the domestic policy portion of the debate. Before that, I have a correction. The videotaping of this will be shown on channel 120, not channel 20, channel 120 on Cox, and it will also be up on YouTube as well, okay? Okay. We're going to begin round 2, the debate on domestic policy, and with that, I would like to reintroduce our moderator, Kristel Ann Foster.
And before I started thanking teachers, and I didn't thank Mr. Karlowicz, so thank you so much for having me here today. All right, let's begin with the second portion, our domestic policy opening statements. We'll begin with Mystery Inc.
Here at Mystery Inc., we are looking towards the future to ensure the progress of America. Our goal is to help people become self-sustainable, to invest in scientific research, and to improve our education system. America can no longer concentrate on solutions that only work in the present. America must look to the future and what is best for our country in the long run. We will remain true to our constitutional roots. We will solve yesterday's debt in order to achieve a free tomorrow, and we will continue with America's prosperity. Mystery Inc. is committed to enacting policies that improve our great country. We are innovating today for a brighter tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time.
A wise silver fox once told me to look out my window and use the spectacles of history to perceive what's happening presently. Prime has looked out our window, and what we see is a nation struggling with a faulty education system, struggling with unemployment, struggling to be able to equalize between the classes. Instead of dwelling on this, Prime looks towards the future. Everyone here in this auditorium is the future. The kids that are filling the jobs of the future and creating a better tomorrow, so that 50 years down the line, when intellectuals look outside their window, they say, what a wonderful world it has become. And it all started with Prime.
Thank you. Puzzles.
The future is bright. The recession is over. The economy is growing. More people than ever before have equal opportunities to succeed and live the American dream. We are the most productive nation in history. However, we are far from perfect. More than 500,000 people sleep in the streets because they're without homes. Nearly 50 million are without health insurance. And so, we ask this question to all of you. Are we doing as much as we can do? And we want to make it abundantly clear that we do not believe so, that we are not satisfied with the progress we are making. We live in a great country, but we believe it could be greater. We are not satisfied with importing a third of our energy while we have untapped natural resources here on our own continent. We are not satisfied with ranking 17th globally in education. We are not satisfied with having 12 million jobless Americans while 40% of our roads are in dire need of repair. Changes must be made. Now is not the time for theoretical, fantastical solutions. Now is the time for solutions that work. And thus, Puzzle believes in practical solutions, solutions that can be efficiently and effectively implemented, solutions that will make our great nation one big puzzle made of all of us even greater.
Seuss.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Domestic policy contains a variety of issues that play a critical role in the lives of each and every one of us, whether it be healthcare, education, budget, energy, or social security. Here at Seuss, we have devised a plan for domestic policy that will enable the United States to further progress both as a country and society. When constructing our policy, our goal was to tackle key issues on a nationwide level, allowing for a strong and unified United States. Seuss understands that our unique American citizens are what allow for our country to thrive and prosper. We focused on devising programs that take care of our citizens and that will be beneficial to all Americans.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to the questions. And I chose this question because it's being debated right now, actually, in Washington, D.C. And just moments ago, a graduate from your program participated in that conversation. So with that, the first question for Prime is, the National Rifle Association states that the Second Amendment guarantees a fundamental right for an individual to bear arms. Do you agree with the interpretation of the Second Amendment? How does your party's gun policy make everyday American life safer while still preserving citizens' Second Amendment rights?
Here at Prime, we believe that the issue of gun violence in America has extended so far beyond liberal and conservative back and forth in Washington, or the rights or the wishes of lobbyists. The issue of gun violence in America has become a public health and safety issue. We believe firmly in the right for an individual to bear arms. However, we don't believe that an individual without training, without registration, without any protection should not be able to operate an assault weapon. Therefore, we are in favor of reinstituting the 1994 assault weapons ban, which at the time was a bipartisan bill. This bill provides comprehensive gun reform, but at the same time, it does not infringe upon the rights of the individual. Here at Prime, we are dedicated to creating a safer today and a safer tomorrow, because here at Prime, we believe that no parent should have to lose a child to gun violence, especially when it's a preventable cause.
Thank you. The next question is for puzzles. In recent years, the United States has fallen to 17th globally in education as a whole, and as low as 25th in mathematics. How does your party propose to reinstate America as a global leader in education? How do you plan to measure changes in student and school performance with your education policy?
Here at Puzzles, we are intensely frustrated with the current state of the education system. So to do this, we feel that we need to change completely the culture of education. So we're implementing our Opportunity Scholarship system. Under this system, all money set aside by the state in state taxes and local property taxes will be split equally among all students in the state, to be used at any school they wish, whether it be public, private, charter, as long as it's not religious. This creates competition both for students and for better teachers. It'll inherently increase teacher pay. Competition creates achievement, much better than standardization ever will. So we're getting rid of standardized tests. We believe it promotes teaching to the test. Teachers can't teach what students really want to learn, and Finland doesn't do it, and they're #1 in the world, so we feel that that's a great example to have set before us. So overall, what we're trying to do here is create a system in which there's less stress on the students and competition between the schools, and doing this, we feel that we can change the culture of education enough that America will be elevated to the highest level once again.
The next question is for Seuss. If current policy is allowed to continue, the Social Security Fund will be completely empty by 2033. What will your party do to reform the current policy and make sure this event doesn't occur?
Thank you. So here at Seuss, for Social Security, we are increasing the age to be able to collect it to 68. We think this is a reasonable adjustment. Currently it is at 65, and by doing this, it will allow us to save $13 billion a year. Also, the bigger picture, we are changing the way that Social Security is paid out, and by doing this, we are changing it to the changed CPI instead of the regular CPI in which it is being used right now. So over a period of time, the amount that we increase Social Security payments will be reduced, but we will not actually reduce payments to individuals that collect Social Security, and this will save us over $100 billion. I believe the number is $113 billion. We believe that this is the right approach to take with Social Security. We know that other parties are drastically increasing the age, some to 75 years old, which we don't think is a good idea.
Mr. Inc. And the next question is for Mr. Inc. Currently, 48.6 million Americans, or 15.7% of the population, do not have health insurance. In addition, the current private system wastes over $750 billion each year in redundant tests and claims approvals. What does your party propose to do to fix this problem?
So we understand the important issue of getting affordable health care to every American. We also understand that Obama's current health care plan, including both the individual mandate as well as the pre-existing conditions clause, does not reduce the cost of private health insurance by $2,500 per year as he promised, but instead increases the price by $4,000 per family. We don't see that as an effective solution. We want every American to have affordable health care. So our plan is a combination of three parts. We are reducing the cap, we are removing the cap on the health care savings accounts that private individuals can use to fund their small healthcare expenditures. We leave room for the private market, but we reduce prices in that market because of our government plan, which is the Government Catastrophic Insurance Plan, in which we limit the amount any one individual has to pay in healthcare insurance to $20,000 per year. Anything above that, the United States government will pay for. With this plan, we will reduce the cost of private health insurance, as well as ensure that every American has coverage.
Thank you. Okay, our next round of questions, inter-party questions. We will begin with puzzles.
Our question is for Prime. The world is currently following a trend towards cleaner energy. Thorium, Prime's proposed solution, simply doesn't solve the proliferation, waste, or cost problems of nuclear power. China is the leader currently in molten salt reactor research, and they optimistically hope to have a plan for commercial development in 20 years. Prime believes that they can build 200 of these nuclear power plants in the next 5 years. Why does your party believe that ignoring recent advancements in renewable energy and putting all your eggs in one basket is a responsible way for our country to tackle the energy crisis?
Here at Prime, we realize that China, as well as many other countries, have invested in this new source of thorium. Probably because it's 3.5 million times more powerful than coal and 200 times more powerful than uranium. That's why, here at Prime, we are investing 159% of what our total current amount spent on energy is into this thorium processed fuel. Now, let me be clear on what type of a reactor we are using. We are using a liquid fluoride thorium molten salt reactor. This liquid fluoride reactor has severely limited the proliferation risk by allowing the uranium-233 to be mixed with uranium-232 completely after its combustion to make energy. Therefore, we lower the proliferation risks to effective limits that could not be accessed by a terrorist in order to create a weapon out of these plants. These plants will offer America tons of renewable energy, which we can both use to power ourselves and also as a trade incentive for the rest of the world. Here at Prime, we do not believe in the hydraulic fracturing methods that Puzzles uses to continue on their energy program. Instead, we are using thorium and we are using hydroelectric power, the most energy-generating resource other than thorium from the new clean energy products. Also, we do still believe in investing in foreign oil as a trade resource. So I don't know why Puzzles believes we're only investing in one resource. Perhaps they didn't read our platform. However, we do not want to invest in a keystone project to build a pipeline allowing more natural gas operations to to insinuate in the US, which continually harm our water supply, infect the lower class citizens around those fracking operations with millions of diseases. Here at Prime, we do not stand for just going back to the pork barrel fat cat operations of drilling for oil in the United States. Here at Prime, we stand for moving forwards to get more effective and efficient methods of gaining energy.
So a couple things I want to hit on here. There is one molten salt reactor in existence right now. It's in India, and people think it's only there because we want to have nuclear power as an option in the future. This is not going to happen tomorrow. We totally believe in the research of thorium. Thorium is incredible. However, it's just not viable yet for large-scale implementation. So we're going to double funding to the EERE, the Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy in the Department of Energy. But we're not simply doing this for thorium. This is for all other renewable energy sources as well. Hydro, water, solar. Hydro and water are the same. Solar. It's going to take 10 years for the NRC to understand and set up regulations for thorium, and another 10 years to build these reactors. It's just not plausible for the next 5 years. In addition, natural gas, we feel, is the best option we have right now for large-scale implementation. This is a huge step toward continental energy independence, and the Keystone Project will put millions of Americans, or not millions, but thousands of Americans to work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Here at Prime, we find it quite funny that Puzzles finds the most efficient way to produce energy in the modern day is to effectively lower the amount of freedom that the lower class has from these big fat cat corporations. We find it funny that they can't come up with any better way than what we've known for the past years. And we find it funny that they also realize that there's one molten salt reactor right now, but don't realize that there were 5 liquid fluoride thorium salt reactors that were shut down in 2009 that were effectively producing energy. We here at Prime realize that we can put many more Americans back to work if we begin the production of these reactors right away. We also find it funny that they think that they can continue to invest in things such as solar and wind, which even though they've had tons of investment dollars thrown at them, have not been able to produce more than 2% of the energy that is needed to supply the US. Here at Prime, with building our thorium reactors, with investing in hydroelectric power, and with bettering our trade relationships through foreign oil, we plan to not only meet all the energy needs of the United States, but triple them.
Seuss, your question.
Our question is for Puzzles. Your policies state that you are raising the capital gains tax by 4% over the next 9 years each year. 4 times 9 is 36, plus the 15% it currently is a 51% tax on investment. How do you justify increasing the tax rate to more than half on investment in a country that is built on investment?
After 9 years, according to our policy, after 9 years, the effective capital gains tax rate will be at 51%. However, the rate that you pay, that any individual in the country pays on capital gains, is either the lower of the capital gains rate or your income bracket. So really, no one in the country will be paying 51% because our highest tax bracket is 49%. The majority of people will be paying about 28% on capital gains, which is almost half of what Seuss claims. In addition, over time, studies have shown that an increase in capital gains tax has little to no effect on GDP. Study after study have shown correlations of correlation coefficients of less than 0.15 when it comes to capital gains rate and GDP. And this has been tested over a span of just the 1 year and up to 5-year lag. So we believe that our increase in capital gains will not affect GDP. In addition, by raising the capital gains rate, we will be taxing the top 1% more than anyone else. In 2012, 50% of all capital gains was made by the top 1% of Americans. And we really want to stress income equality between the classes as much as possible. Over the last 15 years, over the last 20 years, income equality has descended greatly. Our Gini coefficient, for all those of you who are in econ, our Gini coefficient has gone up to nearly 50 or 0.5, which is the highest in the developed world. Here at Puzzles, we do not think this is acceptable. We want every American to have opportunities to do what they want to do with the money that they earn. And we want everyone to have an opportunity to earn that money. And thus, we want to raise the capital gains rate to encourage income equality while not halting our economy or hurting it at all. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry for misunderstanding that they're only paying 49% at the top rather than 51. The highest rates of taxes do not need to be raised. We are closing loopholes in our tax plan. He claimed that by taxing the top 1%, we're getting more money, yet those are the people that invest the most, as he just admitted. With this huge tax on capital gains, and if I can quote, we talked to Ms. Gray about this, she said, that would absolutely kill investment. Our country is built on investment, and that's why we are creating a income bracket system, or the capital gain system, to match our income bracket like they're doing. But instead of raising taxes up to 45 above $1 million, all the way up to 49% for the very richest, we are keeping income taxes the same and having capital gains match those at a rate that will encourage people to invest. In fact, we're having our top capital gains bracket at only 30%, so those who are making 35% in their income taxes will only be paying that, which still encourages them to invest, and those in the lowest brackets will be paying either 0% if they're in the 10 to 15% brackets, or 15% at the 25% and higher.
So thank you for quoting Ms. Gray, but as I said, study after study has shown that GDP and corporate tax rate are not correlated. So yeah, thank you, but sorry, that's not true. As I stated, we really want to promote income equality, and we want to give everyone a chance to earn money equally. And we believe that the best way to do this is to raise capital gains taxes. And also you say that you're going to raise taxes to 30%. That's still raising capital gains taxes. And if you claim that any raising capital gains taxes is going to hurt investment, why are you still following a policy that you believe will hurt the economy? Despite this, from the studies, we know that it won't hurt the economy, but I don't understand why Seuss would implement any policy that they feel would hurt the economy. Puzzles believes that income equality is the best way to fix the American tax system, and thus we will raise the capital gains tax to a level that we believe is better.
Next question from Mr. Inc.
Our question is for Party Prime. How is it that Prime believes lowering the corporate income tax rate to 0 will increase jobs in America when corporations that are known for absorbing profits instead of reinvesting them in their company or in America? Let's go,
Our question is for Mr. Inc. Why do you believe that when we're lowering our corporate income tax rate to 0% and making a progressive capital gains tax rate, that companies will continue to invest instead of building up their own businesses and hiring more people? They're either going to be taxed on consumption in our federal sales tax, or they're going to be taxed on the investment that they take home for themselves. Therefore, it would only make logical sense for them to invest in their company, employ more Americans, expand their business horizons, and attempt to take a larger share of the market, as corporations always do and have done since the Industrial Revolution. We wonder why Mr. Inc. doesn't see this obvious trend of history, and why they still believe that even though we are changing the tax policy to mirror one that does not hinder or inhibit people from gaining more and from wanting to expand more their income, because we've eliminated all income tax brackets, which are naturally a hindrance from people working or wanting to invest more in themselves, and why they believe that a 0% corporate income tax could possibly do anything else than allow more Americans to gain jobs, to gain the ability to work here. Why would they not want a corporate income tax rate at 0% that would gain more American business back home, that would gain our ability to further the products that we make, to finally get a trade value in exports where we actually export more than we import in this country? Why on earth would they want to keep the system the way it is, the broken system which has continued to harm and hinder business and individuals for years in America?
My fellow Americans, our nation has had a great history. We inherit the traditions of democracy, of freedom, and of opportunity that have made our nation how great it is today. Now, the most important thing is understanding that we also inherit the financial transgressions of recent administrations. But we don't bow down in the face of this $16 trillion challenge. Instead, we rise up in the face of adversity as our forefathers have done. Fixing the domestic issues and increasing jobs in America is a simple two-step process. Fix it. We will not sell our nation to the likes of corporate interests. The America we know and love will be ruined, destroyed, as we crucify our nation on this corporate cross. Our country has been made great by entrepreneurs and dreamers, those that have dared to take their future into their own hands. We will not give the keys to our future over to corporate profiteers. Instead, Mystery Inc. will ensure that every American has the opportunity to make their own future. Mystery Inc. will make sure corporations pay their fair share. And Mystery Inc. will ensure growth and investment for a stronger America.
What a wonderful introduction to our tax system for me. Our tax system is the one that will actually make sure that corporations and those who are at the head of them pay their fair share, because they'll finally have to pay taxes on all the luxuries that they consume, as opposed to getting out of the taxes through loopholes in a 60,000-page income tax system. We are the ones who will finally say, it's time that you pay your fair share, without saying to them, by the way, we don't want you to invest, we don't want you to grow your jobs, we don't want you to earn a higher income, we don't want you to innovate, we don't want you to engineer, we want to stop everything that made America great because we want to tax it and persuade it to not occur. We here at Prime believe that that is a failed and faulty program, and we here at Prime believe in instituting something new, something ingenuitive, something that will bring back the innovation and engineering of the American spirit. We here at Prime believe in our tax system.
Let's stay right there because you get to ask the next question.
This question goes to Seuss. Recent studies have shown that standardized tests don't accurately assess a student's individual intellect and skills, and it's also widely accepted that standardized tests don't do that. As a result, teachers teach to the test rather than focusing on their curriculum. How will your party's standardized tests differ from standardized tests that we have seen in the past?
Thank you, Sean, for that question and wanting to talk about education. So here at Seuss, we are implementing yearly assessments. And the idea that these yearly assessments will cause the teachers just to teach to the test is false. Right now, we all have tests in our classes. We have tests in math, English, history, and we do well on those. But here at Seuss, we're modeling it after the College Board rather than right now there are 50 individual states, each mandating 50 different education policies without a collective set of goals for achievement. So at Seuss, we are simplifying this process by creating a national system with a universal structure of the education system that will allow for a collective set of goals and for standards to be created. We are incentivizing the career of teaching by allowing for teachers that have an 85% pass rate to be able to get a bonus on their salaries, as well, on the other hand, teachers that have 3 consecutive years of failing to be put under review for potential replacement. Now, here at UHS, we understand what it means to have an environment where education is valued and where teachers strive and create standards for us. And so we're trying to do this across the country. Because right now, education is undervalued and people just don't have the mindset that they need to strive, and all the other parties aren't creating standards, and that's what we are doing here at Seuss because we believe in our education system.
Also, by instituting these standardized tests, it's been shown that after years of standardized tests, the standards for the tests don't get harder, they get easier so that more kids will pass. As a result, for their teacher salary pay for the 85% pass rate, teachers will just make their tests easier and the standardized tests will get easier. At Prime, we recognize each individual's different education standards, and through our 2-track system in high school, where students can choose between either a vocational track or a college readiness track, we encompass the entire student body so that kids stay in school and are motivated to get jobs in the workforce for the future.
So the idea that standardized testing doesn't work is just false. I mean, if we look at AP tests, here at UHS, what do we strive to do the most? What classes do we work the hardest in? Those are our AP tests, where there are examinations at the end of the year that test us on information that we have to learn throughout the year. And so what we're doing here are we're creating standards that teachers will have to implement in order for their students to pass these tests. Now, these tests will not be implemented by the teachers, they will be implemented on a nationwide basis, so then the test will not get easier, but instead will correspond in difficulty levels based off of grade level and which each grade that they're being given. Thank you.
So into the I want to jump in on that one, so that's where I get lost. All right, so the next one is a question from me for Seuss, and Mr. Inc. will do the rebuttal. So the question is, for years, gasoline was an expensive, readily available, and efficient source of fuel. Today, we recognize that there are 2 persistent problems associated with the use of oil-based energy: pollution and foreign dependence. How do you propose gasoline should be used in the future? And if you plan to phase out its use, what do you plan to replace it with?
So here at Seuss, we understand that in order for the U.S. to remain competitive in the world's growing market, that we have to make a transition to clean energy. And so, as for gasoline, we are continuing the funding for gasoline and production at its normal rates, but we are making a transition to clean energy, wind, solar power, hydroelectric, biomass, and geothermal. And we are making this transition by incentivizing it for individuals and companies who make the switch. So at the end of the year, if they do so, they will be able to receive a tax deductible. This way we're making clean energy more cost effective and to be able to compete with gasoline. Also, we are implementing a carbon tax, which we hope will reduce the amount of carbon emissions, and that also results with gasoline.
Mr. Inc.
For too long, America has depended on oil to fuel our economy and to fuel our vehicles. This has resulted in carbon dioxide emissions and pollution in the world, as well as a dependence on foreign oil for our energy. In order to decrease our dependence on foreign oil and to decrease pollution into the atmosphere, we will be phasing out gasoline through a variety of options. One of these options is P-series fuels, which is a cleaner burning fuel combination than current gasoline, which will help to clean up our skies. We are also advocating and funding more research for clean energy. Part of this clean energy will be biomass, which can be extracted from algae and sugarcane, where if algae and sugarcane are harvested sustainably, they can be carbon neutral. America will reduce its dependence on foreign oil, while at the same time reducing our carbon footprint.
Thank you. The next question is for Mr. Inc. In the 2012 election, Colorado and Washington legalized recreational marijuana, and medical marijuana is legal in many states. Despite conflicting laws, the federal government has remained ambiguous to its steps moving forward. What is your party's stance on marijuana legalization?
Mystery Inc. will be federally decriminalizing drugs with potential medical benefits. Now, marijuana is a drug with potential medical benefits, so it will be federally decriminalized. However, the issue of legalization of marijuana will be left to the states. Here at Mystery Inc., we recognize that the United States differs socially and geographically. What works in New York might not necessarily work in Oklahoma. Therefore, we are proposing that the states have the ability to choose whether or not to legalize these substances. Our plan will also release prisoners from prisons that have drug-related, non-violent, non-distributor convictions. And as a part of this, this will help to clear out our prison system. Thank you.
Thank you. Prime.
Here at Prime, we have a similar stance on the marijuana issue and decriminalizing it. However, here at Prime, we also realize that there's an economic side to marijuana, and that is the amount of excise tax that will be placed on this good. And what we want to do here at Prime is in the first years of an excise tax on this, we want to lower the excise tax to an amount that it effectively eliminates all of the black markets that could ensue from the price being raised too high. Therefore, as we see the market develop in marijuana, we realize that we want to have a 25% excise tax on the good to bring it to the street price level that it is currently believed to be set at. Therefore, we will eliminate all black markets in the good since there will be no incentive to buy the products that might have been miscreated. Unlike Mystery Inc., that does not specify the amount of excise tax that will be put on marijuana in their platform.
And the next question is for Prime and Puzzles will rebuttal. Since the decision in Roe v. Wade in 1973, government has adopted a trimester system in which they measure the duration of a pregnancy, determining a fetus's viability as a living being. What government regulation, if any, would you include in this policy? Do you stand by the trimester system, or are you willing to make a change?
Here at Prime, we firmly support women's rights and a woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her body, as well as her right to privacy. Therefore, we would place no regulations on first or second trimester abortions. However, in the third term, we would recommend a counseling period with a physician, not to convince the woman not to abort, just so that she understands the health risks that are associated with that. However, we would also like to point out less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of abortions happen in the third trimester, and that 99% of those are to preserve the health of the mother. Here at Prime, we would like to cut down on the number of unwanted pregnancies, though, with our comprehensive health contraceptives program. We believe in continuing our funding to the Affordable Care Act, as well as maintaining our funding with Title X, which gives funding to low-income women to receive contraceptives. We believe that contraceptives can not only prevent against STDs and STIs, but also contribute to cutting down on unwanted pregnancies. Thank you.
At Puzzles, we are taking a pro-choice stance on abortion, continuing the current precedent set in the Roe v. Wade decision, maintaining that the right to an abortion falls under the right to privacy, legalizing it during the first 2 trimesters up until the point of viability at 24 weeks. The point of viability being the time at which the fetus can survive outside of the womb independently. The only time an abortion will be legal during the 3rd trimester is if maintaining the pregnancy is endangering the health of the mother. Additionally, we will be legalizing contraceptives. Contraceptives that do not require a prescription will be legal for all females 16 years and older. Any female under the age of 16 will first require a prescription from a doctor before acquiring a contraceptive. Additionally, condoms will be legal at any age, as they always have been. The most important thing we would like to stress is that we realize that everyone has the right to be sexually active. We just want to make sure that everyone is making these choices as safely and responsibly as possible.
And the next question is for Puzzles, and the rebuttal will be by Seuss. Same-sex marriage has become a major civil rights issue in the first decade of the 2000s. Should states continue to have the right to regulate what constitutes marriage and the various economic advantages that marriages can bring to a couple? Or should the federal government intervene to make the marriage contract uniform throughout the nation?
Hi again. Puzzles will be supporting in full the rights of lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transsexuals. This will include repealing the Defense of Marriage Act, making marriage legal for all these couples, and giving them equal marriage opportunities, such as Social Security benefits and joint tax returns. Additionally, we will support the William Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, as well as the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. Additionally, we will be making adoption legal for all of these couples, and maintaining a zero-tolerance policy for any discrimination from individual adoption agencies. Most of all, we'd like to stress that we believe in the words that our founding fathers said, that all men are created equal, and everyone should be able to express who they are and what they really feel safely in a public setting. We will tolerate no discrimination, and we think it's just wrong to discriminate against anyone based on their race, religion, color, gender, sexual preference, or sexual orientation.
Thank you.
All right, my time to shine. Same stance as you guys, basically. We are convinced that same-sex couples have the exact same rights to marry that heterosexual couples do under the United States Constitution. As such, we are also repealing the Defense of Marriage Act. And we look to the civil rights movement of the 50s and the 60s, in which states could not guarantee the fundamental rights of their citizens, and the federal government had to step in to ensure that those citizens had their rights. So we're taking that approach. But we also realize how important the word marriage is to our culture and to who we are as Americans. As such, we are keeping the word marriage, as some other parties aren't. But we are offering a distinction between religious and blessed marriages and state marriages, because we want to give churches rights too, but we want to ensure that you can always, no matter who you are, get a state marriage license.
Thank you. All right, back to the inter-party questions. Our first question will be by Mr. Inc.
Our question is for Seuss. Seuss is removing all semi-automatic weaponry from the public. How do you hope to institute this policy when it is unconstitutional? Do you plan to mirror Prime's policy and only allowing select individuals to the right to bear arms?
First off, not taking anyone's guns away. Starting off, just the sale of semi-automatic weapons, but we do wholeheartedly believe in a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Something that we believe in as much, if not more than that, though, is the right to life of every American citizen. We believe in the rights of 6-year-old children to grow up and live their lives. We believe in their rights to participate in high school projects like this one. And we believe that if we have the power to make sure that that right is not being infringed, then that we have the responsibility to do so. And so yes, there is going to be stricter regulation on guns. We are also going to empower the ATF, give them an actual director, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, so that we can actually enforce this legislation that will have stricter gun regulation. But we are not going to be the party that does not do enough to ensure the safety of our citizens. We will be enforcing stricter background checks and making sure that only the mentally capable can have the right to bear arms and have weapons. And we are going to close loopholes in, say, like the gun show, in the gun show clause, and being able to just make sure that you can have your guns as long as we are keeping our people safe, because that is ultimately our priority at Seuss.
You say that you believe in the right to life of all American citizens, but there are 300 million guns in America today, and yet all of your policies only affect guns being sold. That is such a small fraction of the guns being sold in America that you basically do not have a gun policy because it will not affect any of the guns. Here at Mystery Inc., we have taken a stance that will affect all of the guns without restricting Americans' right to bear their arms. We have taken a policy where you can buy whichever gun you would like, but you must store it on a gun range until you have proven that you know how to use that gun, store that gun, and that you are a reasonable person. Your policy does not do that. It is a mirror of Puzzle's extreme policy to only regulate the guns being sold. There will be no right to life left in America if people can still go out and commit mass shootings because horrible people can get their hands on a gun from a person that does not store their gun properly. Mystery Inc. believes in people's right to bear arms, but we think that you all are awesome.
I agree. You guys are awesome. First off, I don't know if Daniel really understands our policy because he first said one thing and then in his second one said another thing about where we stand. So, I don't know. But we are aiming to do as much as possible to reduce, because we know we cannot eliminate gun violence in this country. That's impossible, really. But we are doing as much as we can to do that. We are also looking at the 1994 assault weapons ban. We are not just going to strictly enforce that again, because that is 20 years old, basically. And things have progressed since then in terms of guns and things like that. But we will use that as a base to also ban things like armor-piercing ammunition and extended magazines to make sure that we are doing as much as we can to ensure the safety of Americans.
The next question will come from Prime.
This question is for Mr. Mystery Inc. In your platform, you say that you're going to take out the word marriage from federal documents and add in the term joinings. American politicians since the 1980s have been coming up with different alternatives to marriage, such as joinings. However, at Prime, we believe that marriage is marriage, and various people have seen that these proposed solutions are not, in fact, marriage because they don't hold the same socio-cultural weight as the term marriage. Here at Prime, we believe in the rights of all LGBTQIA people, and also, wouldn't you agree that the term joining is just another slap in the face to the millions of lesbian, gay, transgender, and bisexual Americans who are fighting for the right to marry?
Here at Mystery Inc., we believe in the Constitution and a proper separation of the church and state. Therefore, we are taking the word marriage, which is a religious term, out of all government documents. All people in the US would still be able to get a marriage. The only difference would be when you go to the clerk's office downtown and sign the paper, you would be legally joined together. Because that is actually what's going on when you get married legally. You combine your finances with another person and essentially are joined together. Mystery Inc. is only changing what the government will do. We are taking the government out of this issue because it is frankly not our business. People will still be able to get marriages. They will be able to choose whatever they would like to call their marriage, because other situations, other solutions that people have come up with, such as civil unions, aren't effective. If we leave the word marriage in and make it legal for all people, then different sections of the United States will revolt. The South has a strong stance against your policy. There are people in America who believe that it is unconstitutional to allow these people marriage. So why do we continue to use the word marriage in our policies? Take it out. End the debate. Make it a private issue and fully enact a true separation of church and state.
Prime understands Mystery Inc.'s concerns that maybe some people in this country would be upset by progress. Maybe some people in this country would be upset by granting equal rights to Americans. However, the same argument was also brought up 50 years ago with the passage of civil rights legislation. And we believe that it is offensive to not grant equal rights to Americans and to claim that dogma and socio-cultural ridiculousness should be held above the equal rights of Americans and held above our Constitution, which grants equal rights not just to people living in the South and not just freedom of expression and freedom of thought to people who think differently. It extends to all Americans, and it extends to every single person who feels like they should have the right to marry, but also the right to express themselves freely in our society. Here at Prime, we believe not in giving in to oppression or giving in to people who might not want change now. At Prime, we believe in equal rights for everyone. We believe that everyone is equal, and we will not give in to dogma. Thank you.
There are two main options that we can take with this issue. We can either grant equal marriage to all people and create a social issue that could result in revolution in certain states of our country, or we could take religion out of the Constitution, take it out of all of our federal policies. This policy would affect everyone equally. No one would be granted a marriage by the government because, frankly, it is not the government's position. It is not our job to say what you call it when you decide you would like to be joined with another person financially. It is your choice, and we believe in allowing all people to retain their choice. Mystery Inc. believes that choice is necessary, and to make a policy that is effective in the United States, we must acknowledge that there are other opinions and create a greater tomorrow.
Next question. Puzzles. What is your question?
Our question is for Prime. It is projected that by 2033, the U.S. Social Security Trust Fund will have completely run dry. Reforms must be made. However, Prime advocates raising the Social Security age to 70 next year, placing an inordinate amount of strain on 64-year-olds who suddenly have to work 5 years longer than expected. How does Prime justify this drastic change over such a short amount of time? And do you really think that raising the age to 70 will be enough to keep the program in a financially sound state?
Here at Prime, we read through people's entire platform for the other parties. Here at Prime, we are changing the age to 70 next year. However, it will not affect people that are currently in line for the 65 age cutoff. It will take effect next year for the people that reach the age of 65. Therefore, it will not have this drastic effect which Puzzles believes it will achieve. Also, what we are attempting to do with this is get Social Security back to where it was originally when it was created. We want to have it following the age of increase in life expectancy. Similar to their own platform, we are increasing the age in years as it progressively increases over time with life expectancy. My real question for Puzzles is, why didn't you read our platform?
So you claim that if you're not going to raise it next year, which we just read your platform again, and it does say next year the Social Security age will be raised to 70. But even if we assume that was a typo or whatever, and you're going to wait one more year, so then rather than people who are 64 now having to wait, it will just be people who are 63 having to work an extra 5 years. Here at Puzzles, we want to institute a gradual change. Over the next 15 years, we will slowly raise the age of retirement from 65 to 75. However, no one will be chasing this retirement age. If you are over 60 now, the change doesn't affect you at all. If you are 59 now, your retirement age will be 66. If you're 58 now, your retirement age will be 67, and so on, up to 75. The Social Security program was created as a survivor's bonus, as a fund to pay people that lived above average life expectancy. It is no longer doing that. Life expectancy is 77 years of age in the country, and Social Security retirement age is still 65. Here at Puzzles, we believe that we want to get this program back and do what it is intended to do, and thus we will raise it to 75. Prime claims that their policies will not have a harsh effect on those who this policy will affect, and they will have to work an extra 5 or 6 years. Puzzles wants to make sure everyone has time to do what they need to do while still putting the country in a financially sound position, saving over $435 billion in the next 15 years with the reform of this program.
Once again, we state in our platform that we are increasing the age to 70 next year. That doesn't mean that for the people right now it's going to affect them. That means that after that next year it's going to affect the people that would be 65 minus 1 is 64, not 63, so those people that are 64. And you're always going to be chasing a deadline no matter what. With their policy, if you're 59, you're chasing a deadline. With our policy, if you're 64, you're chasing a deadline. What we're trying to do is enact change now, because we see that the Social Security system has been broken and it's been founded on illogical conclusions that we can somehow provide this tons of revenue for a baby boomer generation. We need to enact change now in order to save our America for tomorrow. We recognize that our citizens have worked hard to earn this, and they will. They have to wait 5 more years. It's a much better price to pay than expecting all of us to have to pay a debt that we cannot 50 years down the road.
Thank you. And our last question is from Seuss.
For all you guys say about, say against vague and broad statements in your platform, I can't really understand your euthanasia stance. You say that people have a right to die and have prerequisites for this, but you're also letting states decide it. So I don't know where you stand, but looking at your prerequisites, you say that they have to have 6 months to live. They have to be diagnosed with 6 months to live. How do you justify letting the terminally ill suffer if they have a longer life expectancy than that?
Let me make this clear. Many states already have laws saying that you have a right to die anyways. Our euthanasia and assisted suicide policy is that we have general guidelines set by the federal government. However, more specifics are left to the states. And if a state chooses to add more prerequisites to choosing assisted suicide, then they may. Our assisted suicide policy is that you must have less than 6 months to live. You must be in sound mind as determined by a third-party, non-biased, licensed psychiatrist. You must be given every option, such as hospice care and all legal bill. You must be given the tools to see a lawyer if you would want one. We're doing this so that people are comfortable with this choice because obviously this is a very serious issue and your decision is final. In terms of euthanasia, euthanasia would be illegal nationwide. And the difference between the two is that assisted suicide, you're already on your path to death and you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Whereas euthanasia, you might not necessarily have to be on a track towards death, but you choose to die anyways. And a doctor has to assist you in that practice. We believe that that is not morally sound and that if you are not sick, then you shouldn't be able to do that. In terms of the morals, we believe that a person should have options. They should have choices. And that your life is your life the way you want to live it. That's what we stand for here at Prime. I'm not sure what Seuss is talking about in terms of an assisted suicide or euthanasia policy. I believe that our platform is extremely clear. There are guidelines set by the federal government, and then under that there are additional requirements that state can set.
So, going off what you said, assisted suicide is only legal in 3 states, Montana, Washington, and Oregon. And here at Seuss, we are legalizing assisted suicide nationwide. And we are not just limiting it or having a prerequisite for 6 months to live, we are doing it for the terminally ill. Because people who have ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, their body basically metastasizes and it causes extreme pain, but their mental faculties remain. And they are diagnosed to have 3 to 5 years to live. And so we're not going to just let them suffer for nearly 5 years when we believe they have the right to end their life if they so choose. And that is where Seuss stands.
First off, if a doctor tells you that you have 6 months to live, you're probably terminally ill. Secondly, you're legalizing assisted suicide nationwide, as are we. So I don't understand why you would be so upset about that. We're just giving prerequisites so that people are comfortable with their choice and that people know that they're making the right choice. In terms of drastic diseases, we believe that we could further medical research to hopefully cure these diseases one day. However, we don't believe that if you have potentially 5 years left, that you should be given that option, as there are other care options on the table. But you should have the choice if you so choose. Other states can put different regulations on it if they would like, in addition to our prerequisites. However, we just believe that our policy will be able to be comparable and it will give people options and choice, while at the same time maintaining potentially their families' wants, but also their wants.
Thank you.
I'd like to interrupt our proceedings just for a brief presentation, we will complete the final 2 rounds of the debate shortly. We have 2 very special distinguished guests from the city of Tucson, Mayor Jonathan Rothschild and Councilman Steve Kozachik. They are here to present a proclamation to UHS. Representing TUSD is Superintendent John Petticone. Representing UHS is Principal Elizabeth Moll. Mayor Rothschild.
Actually, I'm not Mayor Rothschild. I get to pronounce it. The mayor took a risk. He said, I get to freewheel before he gets up here. So the first thing that I heard when I walked in here was a debate about guns, and it seems like I can't walk in a room anymore for the last 3 weeks about hearing about AR-15s. And so let me give you my take on it, because he gave me the chance to freewheel for a second. Next Tuesday, we have a council meeting, and I expect the crowd to be about as raucous as what's going on here. We're going to propose, and if I can come up with 3 more votes, and I'm not violating the open meeting laws, but I think I've got them, we are going to announce that in the city of Tucson, starting next Tuesday, you cannot, if you lease our property, city property, you're going to have to do a background check on every gun that's sold, including the person-to-person transfers that right now don't require that. If I walk up to you, I found it interesting that when we did the gun buyback about 3 weeks ago, there was a counter rally that was held 50 feet off of the police department parking lot, in which they were holding up signs that said cash for guns, and they couldn't have painted the picture better than I could, that I can walk up to somebody on a street corner, hand them a wad of cash, and walk off with a gun without knowing anything about my criminal or psychological background. So thank you, Mr. Antonori, for making the point for me. Now we're going to move forward with it. Now, the reason we're here today, though, is because we want to honor you guys, you all. I'm not just a newbie as far as UHS Rincon goes. My wife was your lab tech, computer network tech for about 10 or 12 years. Is Nicole Hamilton in the room? She's my niece. And her fiance, Adam, also is one of your AP guys. If I could get this kind of response at the council meetings, I'd be good to go, man. So really invested in who you all are and what you stand for. What a great support group from the parents and from the foundation, Griselda, Bill DuPont and the group. So really thank you to all of the parents, the foundation staff, and the University High staff for putting this whole thing together. You guys do a great job, and you're a credit to the community.
All right. On behalf of the City of Tucson, I want to say, before I read this proclamation, how impressed I am. I know how Steve is too with what we've been watching today. And don't think that what you're doing is just academic. We sit here and we listen to people, and I know a lot of people in the audience have helped, really well thought out ideas, really well thought out policies, and we listen to those, and we really appreciate having them. And the fact that you articulate so well is a real credit to this public school system, and also gives us real hope about our future. And please remember, when you're talking about civics, when you're talking about politics, when you're talking about Social Security reform, you are our future. And you are the ones that we always have to be considering when we consider policy. So it's just a great program, and I'm so privileged to be here today. With that, I would like to make a proclamation. There's a few whereases in here. Whereas University High School was established in 1976 by the Tucson Unified School District as a regional college preparatory high school, and the faculty of University High School is committed to challenging UHS students with a culturally diverse curriculum that is based on the real-world experiences of a staff that includes engineers, physicians, attorneys, and even an astronaut. And whereas University High School was recognized as an Arizona all-subjects high-performer school in 2011 and 2012, was awarded the University of Arizona Cup Scholarship for 2011-2012, and was ranked the #4 best high school in the nation. And #1 in Arizona by U.S. News and World Report. And whereas University High School students took 1,400 advanced placement exams in 27 subjects in 2011, and the University High School Foundation supports the vertical training program and outreach to TUSD middle school students aimed at promoting curriculum and adjustments geared toward the recruitment and retention of minorities at UHS. And whereas the City of Tucson does hereby acknowledge the significant work being done by faculty, staff, students, and the UHS Foundation to improve educational outcomes at University High School and throughout TUSD generally. Now therefore I, Jonathan Rothschild, Mayor of the City of Tucson, Arizona, do hereby proclaim January 30th, 2013, today, to be University High School Day in this community, and encourage all of our citizens to celebrate.
On behalf of University High School, faculty, staff, students, and parents, we would like to thank you so much for this honor in realizing and understanding the excellence in University High and Tucson Unified School District. Thank you so very much.
Congratulations! What an amazing honor. That's a pretty darn good closing statement, but we have 2 more groups of closing statements to finish out our program. So let's continue with the domestic policy closing statements, and we'll start with Prime.
As many other parties have said today, we are a great nation. We are a strong nation. However, when you go to vote, think about how you want America to look and how you want your policies to be. At Prime, we support revitalizing education, rejuvenating infrastructure, and reinventing what it means to be an American and what America means. Here at Prime, we support equality, we support a healthy workforce, and we support the idea that everybody has to pay their fair share and that nobody can just skate by. Here at Prime, we are fully committed to creating a better America, a newer America, America that is based on progress and innovation. My fellow Americans, do not be afraid of change, and do not be seduced by inaccuracies, by ridiculous policies. Do not be afraid of new things, and that is what Prime is offering. Prime is offering a modern take on policy.
That's a
States is currently standing still. If we stand still here, if we elect parties who have a status quo outlook, then the United States does not maintain its influence. And I believe that if we can get a party which believes in movement, which believes in going ahead, strong education, strong and economic growth, guarantee of constitutional rights, then we can reestablish our position in the world and America will move forward again. I believe it our responsibility here at Puzzles to try and warn the American people that in this crucial time, we can no longer afford to be second best. We can no longer afford to stand still. And I believe it incumbent upon us now to change that and be great. But greatness is not something that's written on a campaign poster. It will be determined to the extent that we represent the deepest ideals of the American people. In other words, the next party, as it leads the great American puzzle and the free world, can be only as great as the puzzle pieces that it's made up of. We must give this country leadership, and we must get America moving again, and Puzzles can do that. And we would like to formally wish everyone a happy UHS Day.
When does society grow? Society grows when we plant trees whose shade we know we will never sit in. We are at a historical pivot in America right now, and we need to make decisions not only to fix things now, but to lay the foundation for the future. Without a strong economy, our future does not reach its potential. Without a strong economy, there is no healthcare, there is no Social Security, there is no education, and there is no American dream as we know it today, as we've known it all of our lives. Seuss has the plan to lay the strongest foundation, not only for ourselves, but for our children and for all future generations. So remember, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, and you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You are not on your own, and there is one thing we know, that you will decide, the places we'll go.
in the long run. We are committed to improving the life of the American people, the environment, and the economy. We will improve upon the prosperity of our great nation. We will bring America into the future through innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship. We will not raise the ages of Social Security and Medicare. With proper fiscal planning, we can keep the promise made to the American people. We understand the importance of securing jobs for America. We will not stand by and hope corporations invest, but instead we will directly invest in American small business. We will protect the rights of the American people. Here at Mystery Inc., we are committed to the long-term prosperity of our country. We are prepared for whatever monsters tomorrow may bring. Don't worry, we're on the case.
All right, we've come to the last part of our program. And before I invite them to come, each party to come give their general closing statements, I want to thank the audience for being so respectful and supportive, and I'm just very impressed. And our first closing statement will be from Puzzles.
Throughout these debates, we have slowly but surely been piecing together the pieces of the puzzle. These pieces that are American politics, they have proven to be impertinent to our puzzle. Puzzles urges all of you guys to come together to create a bigger picture. With hard work, determination, aspiration, responsibility, and accountability, we will solve our nation's puzzle. The world's best party will give you the tools and the building blocks for a successful tomorrow. Thank you.
And I'd like to have Seuss.
Many solutions to our current issues. We at Seuss hope that you will all
all leave with a better understanding of our policies. We hope that you will come to understand more about the massive problems that this world faces and that there is one shining solution to solve them all: Seuss. Through open communication and by representing you as a people, we hope to show that our solutions are the right ones in a changing world. When you vote for Seuss, you vote for change, for a brighter future, for compromise, and for justice. At Seuss, your vote matters to us, because with your vote comes your confidence and your support. And with your support, we can implement the necessary changes to set this world onto a better path. With that, our debate is at an end. No more messages we have to send. We all hope that you will make the right choice. Vote for Seuss and let the world rejoice.
Mystery Inc.
A vote for Mystery Inc. is a vote for the future of America. Our platform was created to help the U.S. grow back into the country it used to be. With our policies, the education system will be revived and reformed back to its #1 spot in the world. With new ideas and new missions to help the American public and the world around us, our foreign policies are innovative and effective, combating the real sources of the issues. Here, we believe that everyone has a voice and a choice to be heard and express their ideas. Only we can change the direction our country is taking, for we are the future. Mystery Inc. is the party for you. Vote Mystery Inc.
Last but not least, crime.
Throughout the debate, you've heard the many solutions for the current issues of our time. However, only one party is the optimal choice for America. Crime's foreign policy repairs past aggression, resolves prolonged conflict, and strengthens diplomatic relations within the international community. Our education policy invests in the students of today to ensure that future generations will have the skills and creativity to continue America's path of innovation and progress. Crime ensures the principles of freedom, liberty, and equality by protecting the civil liberties and fundamental rights of every American. The choice for America is not a puzzle, mystery, or children's rhyme. This is our generation. We are the future. Change the channel. It's prime time.
And so one more round of applause for all of the parties. I just want to say two things before I give the podium back to your teacher here. So I'm an elected official for the first time, and I sense some competition. I sense some real competition for any elected official out there, and I hope some of you are considering that. I never considered it, but I hope some of you are considering that in your future. You would serve us all well. And my second, I just have a question, is I want to vote. I want to ask if I can vote, because I was so engaged. I want to vote. Really?
Thank you all very much. This concludes the 2013 University High School Senior Debate. UHS Juniors, don't forget, you're the voters. Vote tomorrow in room LL3. Before we close, I'd like to thank Kristel Foster for a superb job as our moderator. Kristel, thank you. And again, I want to recognize our stage crew for the fabulous job they did in creating this event. And again, thank you to the faculty and staff and administration of University High for allowing us to turn the institution on its ear for about the last month. Finally, please join us. Don't forget about the culminating event for this activity. Don't forget we have the inaugural ball next Friday, February 8th. At Mariposa. Hope to see you all there for the crowning of our champion. UHS seniors, please remain in the auditorium to help clean up the stage. The remainder, underclassmen, UHS freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, please very quickly report to your 4th period class prior to going to lunch. Thank you all very much.